Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Veil background information. Today we're doing a creature profile and it's going to be part of the ones referred to as serpents. There's quite a few of these and they're still in the category of the night predators. But it should be quite interesting and I quite enjoyed this category too, so let's get into it. Thalia did not want that. She had not enjoyed going to the edge of sanity and she wished she could just howl out to the universe and beg for death. But she knew if she did anything like that, the veil itself would be at risk. It was the fear of conforming to the stereotype made of her, the idea that she was a typical serpent that lived off engulfing innocent humans, made her more stubborn on her thoughts. Thalia was not going to do anything to make her situation worse, or the reputation about her people any worse. She was going to beat this desire to eat humans and get back to the veil, or so help her. Quote from Faithful Servant. Discussing the topic of serpents is a lengthy process, especially because within the veil they encompass basically any being, not shapeshifter or demon, that has any reptilian attributes. These include beings from the echidna, the python, the naga, the lamia, and even the gorgon types. They are often clumped together because these species display carnivorous and man-eating abilities, but also a closer link to the dragon demons and to the demon Asmodee. They are constantly looked down upon in the veil, and this is due to the general fear of snakes that many species have. Even irrational fears and phobias of snakes have put this group in the bottom rank that werewolves once occupied within the veil. Now, for certain beings, we will discuss their individual mythology background in separate files, including the echidna, which includes the Dracania, the naga, the python, which will also include the orochi, the medusae and gorgons, the lamia, which will include the scella, the lindworm, that includes the basilisk and the cockatrice, and the tatzelworm, but for this part we'll discuss the generic snake man, or snake with the head of a human being. This image ranges across nations and times, from the Greek image of Cecrops to the Nuriona of Japan to the various depictions of Satan tempting Eve, a good example being Fall of Man by Michelangelo. Indeed, snakes hold an aspect of fear and danger even within modern society because they can be unpredictable and the damage caused by venom. Throughout the years and even today, these animals are thought to be ill omens and bringers of death, even when they've actually been living comfortably with us, eating rodents. The fear of snakes from their unnatural movement, lack of limbs shedding ability, bright coloration, poison, and their speed all combinate to put them into bad standings in various mythologies, but also into forming obvious villains in nature. Just thinking of terms like treacherous snake, poisonous viper, and whatnot are proof in language of the snake being used as something bad. So it was rather natural for ideas of half snake and half human monsters to appear, with the desire to eat man as easily as a python eats a piglet. But though some are portrayed as tricksters, always aiming to do harm, many come with the obvious warning to be left alone. The Nuri-Onna is a yokai from Japan that is best described as a snake with the head of a woman, and though some descriptions vary in size and strength, there are some stories around this being that state it just wants to wash its hair in peace and will attack anyone that disturbs it. A very snake-like quality. But most stories of it regard it as a man-eater that lures in victims, sometimes by appearing to carry a childlike bundle that people may offer to carry only for those ill-intentioned making the offer to become weighted down and unable to escape as she uses her tongue to drain their blood. Some versions also have it working alongside the Ushi-Onna. When the snake would hand over its baby and disappear for a bit, the Ushi-Onna would appear, and if the person would throw the baby to try and save themselves, they would be brought down by its weight and be preyed upon. This kind of idea is quite common, but I also found a counter idea with Cecrops the First of Athens. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. According to mythos, this king was born with the head and upper torso of a man upon the body of a snake, a mythological king and founder of Athens, but also a cultural hero. If the stories are to be believed, then he was born with 2 human parents and even sired 3 beautiful daughters, who made the Pandora mistake with Athena and died in a temple later on. According to the stories, he taught the first aspects of civilized culture to the people of Attica, from the values of marriage to politics and worship. He is said to have built the first altars and temples, instituted worship using the sacrifice of cakes to all gods, but not just Zeus, but not to allow living animals to be sacrificed. He was also said to have judged who out of Athena and Poseidon would be the patron god of his city. If it's called Athens, you can guess who won by giving them the first olive. Cecrops is a very different interpretation of a snake-human hybrid, and possibly one of the only benevolent forms aside from the naga. Aside from the obvious problem that snakes spook people, when it came to the Bible, snakes really got it, and suddenly a good number of serpentine demons turned up. Though Satan is described as as the one to turn into the serpent, that is a serpent, not specifically a snake, and often depicted as more draconic than any real snake, to tempt Eve into the garden. The snake is punished because of Satan's trickery, and thus people even owning snakes have been thrown into the Satan worshipper lot because of the snake's association. Now, in some descriptions, and certainly in demonology, the snake itself is not Satan, but rather one of his demons sent to do the deed, a snake named Asmodee. This is certainly something I've kept within the veil, and Asmodee is listed as the sire of all the snakes or reptile demons that would later lose their demonic powers to become the beings known as the Serpents, or Serpente, or Serpentes. There are various names for them, including some mistakenly being referred to as Naga for an easier explanation. Within the veil, these simple serpent beings were actually revered as intelligent and scholarly, preferring solitude to company and holding a mysterious air about them. They were obedient to whatever masters, and during the height of the vampire nobility, were all the rage in courts for their entertainment value, their teaching skills, and their desire to be diplomatic. Even now in the veil, to be taught by a serpent holds great weight, akin to the thought of being taught by the centaur Chiron. But sadly, due to their predatory manner and devouring of humans, as well as their association within the vampire court, the veil agents and the veil in the late 1800s marked them as too close to demons, and they often find themselves enduring prejudice they do not deserve. Side, neutral most often, created by Asmodee, created for, his spawn with varying other demons, created when, over the development of the veil. Physical description. These beings derive of human features, often head or upper body, with the rest of the body being serpentine, with fangs, forked tongues, and snake eyes. In human form, they are most often seen as slim and elegant beings, often tall but lean, with features that some has described as shifty or unsettling. Long hair is very common and preferred, and skin colour, even in human form, can vary, with some showing green, red, or even blue hints. Abilities. All serpents are poisonous. Their poison in high quantities can temporarily shut down the vampire ability to heal, and has meant they've been perfect assassins against rival vampires in the past. As their poison disperses rapidly, it is difficult to gain an exact venom match from the victim's blood. They can be large and strong enough in their serpent form to crush a being within their coils or suffocate them, and then in human form they have surprising strength and quick reflexes, but on the whole they are not athletic. They possess a keen ability to sense magic with their tongues, as well as to sense demonic influence, meaning they are hard to trick and they are naturally intelligent. Most known for links to the serpent in Eden to trick Eve. Weaknesses. Like all reptiles, they can get tired quickly, and cold is problematic. Hypothermia is their most common killer, and often their low rank in society means that more money goes out to buying food and maintaining the house temperature than can be comfortably afforded. They can shed their scales to help them heal, but are not immune to poison or fire. Their snake scales are formidable armour, but their human flesh is vulnerable. Numbers. There's a good deal of them. In fact, it's thought there's at least between 10 and 20 million within the veil, but many of them live in poverty due to stereotype and difficulty finding jobs. Well-known beings. There aren't many names that are mentioned anymore, but a famous scholar to the name of Varieties was said to have existed during the early years of the veil and counselled his followers against the consumption of human flesh. Characters and stories. I have a few, including those beings that attack the Viper clan in Ancient Venom, but also Harry in Weirdest Romance and Ryan in Faithful Servant, and a few more pop up here and there. Final comments. These guys are really just the generic human snake things, and though a lot of people in the veil do use the term Naga to describe them, they aren't true Naga, and really these poor guys in the serpent category get a lot of slack, but include some very interesting species. Thank you.